can see you. The host may add you to the broadcast at any time. Be ready.
How do I do that? I don't see. Share screen.
Somebody.
It's too late to call somebody. I'm scheduled to be on right now. Let me.
Well, you can start the 2 minutes. And I got my computer, and all three of them are saying the same thing.
Okay, I have no idea to be backstage. It's too late. It's too late. It's 7. It's 7.
I the broadcast where we didn't start exactly at 7. We started at 7:04 and 7:05. We apologize. I'm gonna call my cousin.
Okay, please do. Please do.
And I'll call you back.
Okay, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Lloyd Strayhorn. Believe it or not. Okay. I understand you can see and hear me. That's good. We're live. Welcome to Labor Day Monday. It is September the 6th, and I am waiting for my guest, Kalia Washington, the solar biologist. Believe it or not, we did a test run yesterday. It went smoothly. Okay, would you like to guess whether it's going smoothly right now? No. Okay, but this is Live with Lloyd, where the joy of numerology is the joy of learning and enlightenment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to figure out as best I can. She's doing it by phone, by computer. I have no idea. But I know yesterday it went flawlessly. I guess that's how it happens sometimes. I think she's going to try to get some assistance to make a call, and hopefully she will be joining us. And her name is Kalia Washington. She is a solar biologist, a very extraordinary lady in her own right, as you can see. And it's just, okay, I'll get this. Believe it. One of the things about live shows and whatnot, you get the glitches, warts, and all. So this is it. But anyway, let me tell you about the cosmic forecast right now. It's a 5 personal month. Okay, it's a 5 personal year. How did I get it? Well, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. Then it's a 5 personal month. Well, how did I get that? Well, all I added was September, the 9th month, to 2021. It factored out to 14, and 1 plus 4 is 5. Yes. Yes.
Ask the audience. Explain that we're having technical difficulties and that it says I'm backstage. What to do?
Okay. She says it says we're having technical difficulties. She's backstage. Normally, I would see you. I've done this already with people. I have no idea how we can do it. If she's already backstage, how to do it. Normally, it would pop up right next to me. If somebody knows how to do this, I would need some help. I don't know everything. I tell you, I'm going to figure this thing out. And if she is not on today, and if she's backstage, how come she can't get in? It just says into the studio. Anyway, I wish we did it earlier, whereby we could have worked this out, which is, anyway. Anyway, though, folksies, thanks for joining us. Hopefully we can get her on. Maybe somebody can help. If you're using StreamYard, that's the platform I'm using. The guest that I have today is Kalia Washington, solar biologist. I'm just waiting for her to join us. And she says she's done everything by phone, by her laptop, by her pad. She should be right next to me where I can plug her in. I had no problems with my first guest, Brother Francis Revels Bay. I have no idea what's happening. So, Khalea, please keep trying. But in the meantime, I was explaining that it is a 5 universal year. It's a 5 universal month. The word universal means everybody, no exceptions, no exclusions. Everybody, universal. Everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to breathe. Okay? That's universal. It is not to one segment of the population, one ethnicity. Everybody's got to breathe. Everybody's got to eat. These things are universal. It's just what you eat or when you go to bed or get up, but everybody is universal. Then also it's a 11 universal day. How did I do that? And I'm glad you asked me. Well, what I did was I took the 5 personal month, added to the 6 position day. 5 plus 6 is 11, which is considered a master number. So I have a forecast every day that appears on Instagram called Where's the Moon? And what I do under Numbers in You, I'll tell about today. Today is a day about teamwork, cooperations, asking favors, getting counsel. And if you've been looking for counsel, this is the perfect day to do it. Anyway, and certain signs that would do well today, I explain, which would be the signs of Leo, Cancer, Aquarius, Taurus, Libra, and anybody born on the, what is it? The 2nd or the 6th, the 11th or the 15th, the 20th, the 24th, or the 29th of the month. I'm a little distracted because I'm really waiting for her to join us and hope we can figure this out. I'm not seeing anywhere on here how I can let you in, and I don't see why that is. I didn't have that problem the first time, but anyway, we'll work that out. So astrologically, the sun in Virgo, the moon is also in Virgo, which makes it a new moon. Now, what does that mean? When the sun and the moon are in the same sign at the same time, it is thus considered a new moon. So if you got anybody having a child today or late yesterday into today, you will have not only a Virgo child as a sun sign, but their moon will also be in the sign of Virgo too, which makes it a new moon, which only adds the intensity. Now, it all depends on what time of the day you were born, which will discover the ascendant or rising sign, because it's just like the planet is, evolving around on its sphere. So is the time, and this is why your rising sign. This is why you need to know the exact time. So all of this is an exact science. Somebody did mention about a week or two ago. Somebody did mention, I'll be taking people's calls. If so, please call in with your birthday, share whatever the case is. Yes, I did hear maybe she can just talk in the audience. Okay. Well, anyway, that might be the case. I have a suggestion. Maybe she can talk to the audience by doing that. You know what? I think that's going to be an idea. Thank you. You know, the beauty of you women, boy, y'all are so great. I swear. Okay. Let's see.
Our call has been forwarded to an...
Alrighty. Anyway, she may be trying to get through. But anyway, do call in with your birthdays. Queen DeFaith already did, and we'll have some other people too. But before I take the phone calls, and I'm going to patch Khalea into this way based upon the suggestion of Mrs. Winters, which I think is a good idea. Because if you can hear the speakerphone, then we'll have to do that temporarily until we get it face to face. But she is a terrific person. At any rate, okay. Somebody had asked me about the safest day to fly airplane, and I says there's never been a commercial airplane crash on a Thursday ever in the United States. And what happens is, somebody had mentioned to me, well, what about the plane that crashed into the Hudson River that was on a Thursday? And it is true. In other words, I remember it was in 2009. It was on Martin Luther King's birthday. And I got a call from my brother, said the plane had crashed. And I says, that's impossible. Planes don't crash on a Thursday in the United States, okay? And at least it would be the first. Now, you know how they say there's a first time for everything, okay? I get it, all right? However, when you look at the episode, the event was made into a movie. Yes, there was a plane crash, but the plane did not crash. It landed in the Hudson River. The pilot was Sullenberger, who was born on January the 23rd. He is an Aquarius, but it makes sense. He's an air sign with an air number dealing with an air apparatus, which is a plane. But here's the thing. Not one passenger was lost, okay? Not a crew was lost either. So this was one of those things. And it's very interesting that Sullenberger was born on the 23rd because Mike Bloomberg was the mayor of the city at that time. And he was also born on the 14th of the 5. And that was the only time in 2009 that the New York City had an African-American mayor, Mayor David Patterson, okay? A Taurus person born on May the 2nd. Anyway, enough for the trivia. But you're right. There was a plane incident. That's what I call it. It wasn't a crash. A crash means, there are very little survivors, if any survivors. That to me is a crash. Everybody's got their definition. This is why I was explaining to some person one time. Everybody's definition of love is not the same thing. Love may be for one person who's had much experience of family, loving mother, father, nurturing, versus a person who never had that experience. Yes, they will know the word love, but to experience it. So that's why I say sometimes it's semantic. So yes, there was a plane incident. That's how I would put it. Incident means everybody got out of there. And talking about dead winter in New York City too on January the 15th, so all I'm saying is yes, they were right. So there was there was a plane crash. Now let me see if I can get through to Khalea on the phone, and we just have to do this via audio. Let's see. Yes, that's right, Jennifer Kirkland does. Khalea?
Hey, how are you, Lloyd?
Fine. Listen, we're going to do this by phone until we get you visually. I want to introduce everybody by way of video to Kalia Washington, who is a solar biologist who I've known for decades. We go way back. We've done a lot of things together, done shows, done events, lectured in libraries. So we have a long running history. Khalea, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I found out through a relative there's a button that you need to push on your end, and we'll work that out.
I wish I knew what buttons, because we didn't have to do it yesterday. Yesterday was smooth sailing when we tested this.
Yes.
Okay.
But, Diana Farr told me many years ago that there was some asterisk in my 12th house that blocked me in areas like this. Isn't that interesting?
Well,
years ago, 20 years ago.
Well, I tell you this, it don't need to be blocked right this second.
Well, we're gonna make it.
Now, can somebody confirm if you can hear my guest by phone, even though we can't see her visually, if you can hear her audio, because we're going to ask, and one of the questions I have while somebody responds about can they hear you is there, maybe she can talk. Okay, they said they could hear you when you were on the speakerphone, so we're going to do this.
Okay.
Last month, August, there was a big to-do because there was no less than 5 planets that were retrograde. Saturn, I think Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, I think was it Jupiter? I don't know whether those were the exact 5.
It was. Well, first of all, Lloyd, all of the planets, except for the sun and the moon, will go retrograde. And retrograde simply means stationary. It's the best way to describe it is if you're traveling on a train and the train stops en route, delayed for whatever, and another train goes by in the opposite direction, it makes you feel like you're being pulled backwards. Now, in astro speak, whatever planets are retrograde, you're not getting the full benefits of what that planet represents, and it means confusion, delays, old things coming up, and if one planet is not compatible with the other, that's like a karmic thing, something you did that you should have either straightened out or apologized or got on top of your health. Then with the retrograde planets in effect, that's when you might get the bad diagnosis, and that's when you can't push past what you want and do man's law and have to submit to God's law. But it's simply overall taking inventory, having to go back, clean up things, fix things, be patient, own up to whatever responsibilities, deal with consequences that you might have been able to avert and avoid.
Okay, good. Now, and at the end of this month, we have one more planet going retrograde on the 27th, which is Mercury. I think that's the one that most everybody is most familiar with. If they're not familiar with any other planetary retrogrades, they always seem to be familiar with Mercury retrograde. And I noticed one thing when we did a show one time. You said when Mercury's retrograde, though, that's when things that have been lost can be found. Can you explain that?
Well, what I meant by that is Mercury is the planet that deals with communication, the written word, computers. So when Mercury goes retrograde, there very often is glitches and delays. That's when your computer freezes, a package, and no matter the fact that I have the receipt, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
So the way it works so that we don't invoke more panic and hysteria is to explain that there are cycles for things. Just like there are cycles to plant things, but then there are cycles to feed them and cultivate them, and then there are cycles to harvest. We need to understand and respect from an astrological perspective that if we at least go on the computer and learn and educate ourselves to what a cycle like Mercury retrograde means, that this is not a good time to make major purchases. Something of short duration, fine, but a car, getting married, signing a contract on a house, anything that you want to last, I wouldn't do it during a retrograde because it might be something in the fine print. I remember once years ago, a friend of mine, and we really used to run together hard, and she was a big supporter of me in terms of being an astrologer. But then she got an opportunity to buy a car that she swore was the deal of a lifetime. And even though, I heard you Mercury's retrograde, blah, 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 but I'll never be able to get a car for this price. So she drove a good 60 miles and picked up the car and paid. I'd gone to see it and decided she wanted it, but she had to get the money and that sort of thing. She drove and got the car. There was a huge thunderstorm on the way back, and she got into an accident that ended up costing more in repairs than she paid for the car. So I'm not forecasting that every time Mercury is retrograde, bad things will happen. But Mercury retrograde is maintain status quo. Is to go over the fine print. It's to look at your important papers and make sure that those documents that you put away were all signed, that everybody knows where everything is. And as you clean and as you purge, stack it up, but don't throw it away, because there's a possibility that was an important paper you might have overlooked. And because Mercury retrograde gives you a feeling of being stifled and blocked and stymied. I remember once I was supposed to meet a friend, and we were going to meet on 34th Street, and the person never showed up, and this was prior to cell phones. So I gave them an hour and a half, and I figured since they stood me up, they owed me a phone call, and they never called, and I was done. And a couple of months later, we ran into each other, and I said, "What happened to you? You were supposed to meet me." Come to find out, they were on 34th and 7th, and I was on 34th and 8th. The little glitches.
Little things. Yep.
They're laughable, so you tend to take them in stride. But this is something of importance that I would like for the audience to note.
Please share
In
it.
March of last year, when they formally announced that there was the coronavirus, the announcement was during a Mercury retrograde. And my first thought was...
That is correct. That's right.
Yep.
That's true.
And my first thought was not so much the virus, but I knew that if it was announced during a retrograde, that it wasn't going to be something that was a quick fix, that it was going to end up being more to it than we thought, and that there was a possibility of it being long, drawn out, and protracted, because initially when they announced it, it's like, look, we've got this virus, and, we need you to mask up, and we're working on it. They didn't know what to do. But because it occurred during a retrograde, then it turns out that not only is there the coronavirus, but there are other viruses behind it, And so the layperson will say, well, see, they didn't even know what they were talking about. They said if we just do this, and this is something that's going to take a while to work out, just by...
Well, I think that in and of itself has become obvious by now, because it was in March of 2020.
That was hoping that maybe if we just shut it down for 6 months.
Well, listen, don't forget, we now live in a world of instant gratification, just add water. If it's not on right away when you flip the switch, what are we talking about? People have been so accustomed to instant, spontaneous responses when they push a button, click something, and don't understand. So patience seems to have gone out the window, where time is about the only thing that will work itself out. That's like me planting a flower, and I can put seeds in the ground, and I can stay there looking at it. It ain't going to pop up just like that. It's going to be a process that before it goes. Then as soon as you turn your attention away and look back, then you see the blossoming, the vines, everything like that. But, with now we've got birthdays now. I don't know whether you need your ephemeris, whether you need your computer, because the one thing I was telling you, people have submitted birthdays for you. Are you interested in taking a look at some of them?
Yes, but there's some information that I really would like to share.
Well, please do.
Because we won't be able to get to everyone. And what you said about the instant gratification, when there are planetary shifts, like when Jupiter leaves Capricorn and moves to the sign of Aquarius, we went through such a wretched cycle these last 4 years, but especially last year, that a lot of people were hopeful and idealistic that once we hit 2021, things would be different, But what I'm trying to explain to the public is that this is a cycle that is ending, and we're in a transition and rebirth, new beginning cycle. So that means that a lot of old things, in terms of the way that we did it, the reasons why we did it, are coming to a halt, and that the most productive thing that we can do as a people is be willing to change and adapt. Because if we get stuck in the righteousness of our views and thinking that, well, at some point, I'm just going back to the old way, really no longer exists. We're going through a paradigm shift. Like, for instance, and New Orleans is a perfect example. Back when we had Katrina, it was so devastating and so hurtful to us to see that kind of devastation and that many lives lost. And I hope this is a good example. And so over 1,800 people died in that. And there was two groups. There were the groups that, as a result of their devastation and loss, had to pack up and move to different locales. Some of them ended up in parts of the country that they didn't even have Black people, like Utah and Oregon. But those people in those areas opened up their hearts and their homes and their schools, and they welcomed them, and they had to start over. And then there were those that were left there hurt, angry, bitter, mad that they still didn't get everything that they needed to rebuild, living with the stress and the tension. And I say this because I see it happening in New Orleans, I see it happening in Haiti. There are cycles in life where no matter how long you've been there, just like a marriage or a relationship, when God's grace and mercy is off that situation, it is time to move. Because we saw billions of dollars being sent into New Orleans so that they could be rebuilt and build these new houses, when in fact, New Orleans, the land around it, is sinking. It's in the last few years, it's 10 miles below sea level. It's sinking at 1 centimeter per year. So, it might sound drastic, and with climate change and the sea level being higher, they're just prey for bad weather and catastrophes. There are cycles where you have to look at what's happening and its impact, move someplace else, do something different, prove that you can live well in another place, in another situation, in another relationship, and then give that place a chance to go through whatever it's going through so that it can be rebuilt. But it will never be able to sustain with just a quick fix of building the levee. It will always be prey to catastrophes because it's vulnerable. We have ignored the lessons that climate change has tried to teach us. And rather, we live in a country where, they removed us from the climate change stomach. You know what I mean? And now that we're seeing these fires and the earth breaking up and the hurricanes and the volcanoes and the tornadoes, they're like, is this the end of the world? Is God punishing us? Our punishment is that we are not acting like we know what we know. We are not respecting this planet. We are not respecting the information. We're only looking at the superficial things. As a result, we are being impacted. I remember when Barack Obama said 6 years ago, listen, it is very, very important that we stay involved regarding what's going on with these viruses like SARS and Ebola, because if we don't invest in research and pay attention, at some point, one will hit the United States, and if we're not prepared, we will be caught out there. This is not like on some crazy website. This was a public broadcast.
Well, listen, parents used to say you either learn the easy way or you learn the hard way. That goes for nations, peoples, ideologies, whatever you're going to do. But I tell you this, I have quite a few people that had chimed in. So you let me know. Maybe I want to make sure you complete the message you want to convey, which I think is pretty much on point of this shift in the paradigm of things, the conditions of things by way of Mother Nature, what it's doing, and who can stop Mother Nature anyway. So people can try. The best thing to do is always work with it,
We really shouldn't even be afraid, but we do need to respect and work around and work through and work with, as opposed to having to react to action. So let's take some phone calls. I'm going to grab my ephemeris.
Well, it won't be a phone call per se. It'll be people who have left their birthday. One, they didn't leave the time, but one is Jennifer Kirkland. She is born on January the 23rd.
Okay. Did she leave her year?
That would be 1986, I do believe.
Okay. Well, does she have a specific question, or does she just want a general reading?
Well, people are just calling in general. They're just giving.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a very intelligent and articulate person. Number one, Jennifer, you need to stop wasting your energy and become more selective of who you're sharing your energy with, because she shows that she cares by talking to people, doing for people, and providing information. And she's getting very frustrated that some of the people that she's pouring into either don't appreciate it, or they don't seem to take heed, or they take heed just enough until they need her for something else.
Interesting.
This is a cycle where you know how Maya Angelou used to say, "People show you who they are."
Yeah.
You need your energy for you. Start meditating more. Start taking more spiritual baths. And if the phone rings for the 99th time with a person who only is calling you when they're in trouble, only when they need something, let the phone ring.
I hear you.
Get back to them in a couple of weeks and say, so how did that work? And when they want to say, and another thing, say, well, remember when we talked last time, did you do any of that? It's not about being mean. This is a cycle for her to do her.
Got it.
And what she does in terms of her own self-care is really going to set the tone for how things evolve for her in the next 4 years.
Very good. And by the way, everyone, I have my very special guest on, although you can't see her yet. Her name is Kalia Washington. She is a solar biologist and absolutely one of the best in the business. And if this is who we are listening to right there, this beautiful lady. By the way, Kalia, I have another one, a Mrs. Winter. She's born December the 7th of 1978. What would you say about that situation?
Oh, wow. Well, you know, she had a pretty good year and a half ago, you know, and she got some kind of, either somebody left her something, or she got a raise or a promotion. And even though she wished she, you know how it's like that I wish I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If there was anything that she wanted to do, that the money or the time or the opportunity got away from her, this is the cycle for her to take inventory, not feel defeated, and slow down and approach it again from a more practical vantage point, step by step.
Okay.
Sag doesn't always like to do things slow and incrementally, but this is a building herself back up cycle.
Okay. There's a Lakeisha who called in. She says she lost her sister on February the 26th, 21, feeling lost. I'm very sorry to hear about that. I thought it was a birthday, but she was sharing the transition of her sister earlier this particular year. However, there is a Deborah Ogwama.
No, I want to speak to the sister that lost her sister.
Okay, yes, and she lost her on February the 26th of this year.
I want to make a comment, because you know it's really been mind blowing to lose so many loved ones in such rapid succession that your loss can't even be as special as it was. You can't memorialize them the way you want to. You can't bury them, and it could have been sudden and abrupt. But one of the things that I want to say to you, Keisha, is this. Take the best of what you knew is in her. Some of the things that if she had lived a little longer, she might have done. And use it as a weapon to help you make your way forward. If people don't treat you the way you deserve, if your relationship isn't the way, and you know that if that sister could see it and be there, how she would fight for you, how she would protect you, you got it. Embrace the fact that she's an ancestor now. So the best way to heal is to say, I'm her sister. I'm going to treat myself better. I'm not going to settle for less. And I am going to try to integrate the best that I know is in her and use it in me to help me move forward. I lost my brother at 26. It was so shocking and so painful. And, I just didn't even want to deal with the finality of it. But I couldn't stop them from putting him in the ground. So finally I got angry and I said, okay, I can't stop this from happening. I can't undo this. But if there's a way to do a spiritual fusion, I'm going to do a spiritual fusion. And if you're really going to be an ancestor, I'm going to do everything I can to make you proud. And sometimes doing that shift can kind of heal you. You can still talk to her. You can still love on her. And just treat her as if she is there with you and for you and rooting for you all the way home.
It's interesting because Lakeisha said she was feeling lost. And I hope that message really, really resonates for her, because when we make a transition, that's why there are memories, all kinds of things to kind of like really help us grow, And in fact, Lakeisha just said yes. So Lakeisha, thank you very, very much for that. Now I have a lady, Stephanie. She's her son. She said her son was born November the 28th, 1987 at 3:26 a.m., which means his son was in the second house, if I'm not mistaken, from what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
He's born November the 28th, 1987. So what would you say for Stephanie B's son?
He needs positive men around him. They don't have to be a husband or a boyfriend, but he needs positive men around him. He needs firmness, and he needs accountability. A lot of times we have a tendency, when we think about what our men and boys have gone through, from slavery to incarceration to wars, and if we are in a situation where we're raising them alone, or the other partner isn't as strong, a lot of times we will not demand, insist, or compel our boys to be as strong as we know that they should be. And that ends up crippling and enabling them. And so they're okay, but they can do better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be put in a position where, number one, he likes to be a leader, and he needs to be challenged to step up into that role, and to not be slack, and to not use people who will let him get by, and get through.
Well, let me ask you this. With him born at 3:26 in the morning, that means his son would be away in the second house, if I'm not mistaken. What would that mean if his son isn't found in the second house? Because doesn't that deal with the house of possessions, the house of home, materiality, things of that nature?
Yes, but what is he doing with it? And is he generous? Does he share? Or is he about him? Because you said he was born on the 28th, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And number one is what I want, what I think, and what I feel.
Yeah, you're not kidding on that one. Definitely not kidding on that one. Okay.
They are generous, but it's got to be their way. And sometimes they have to be taught, if you're going to help. Don't be the help that hurts. Don't be the help.
I like how you put that, the help that hurts. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Definitely.
Well, we've all lived through that. Learn how to be the help. Another thing that's going to bring out the best in him is having to help. I don't know if he has sons, someone who's younger than him.
Mm-hmm. 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 I don't know. Here they just posted briefly, but I do want to let everybody know, as you can see, my very special guest is Kalia Washington, Queen Kalia Washington, who is a solar biologist. And as you see, the information where you can reach out to her, schedule appointments, PayPal, email, whatever the case is, everything is right there for you. And yes, go right ahead. You were about to say?
You know, Lord, I'd like to explain to the audience how I got this title, solar biologist.
You know, I was going to ask you that because I says if that's not the most original title for an astrologer, how did you come up with the title solar biologist?
Well, you know, I studied astrology for a very long time. And then I started looking at it from the psychological aspects. How can I use this as a tool to help my people? How can I show them how to move to the next level, where they're blocked, how to get out of their own way, to recognize certain behavior patterns that coincide with certain aspects in their charts. You know, because none of us are going to be perfect and none of us are always going to do it right. But at least once you get a chance to see yourself, recognize yourself objectively, you can take a different approach. So I was doing this more as a self-help and self-actualization than, let's say, that how to get the man and how to get the money. And a brother from Harlem, you know, Ademola, we used to broadcast from the stage of the Apollo back in the 80s.
Yes.
And when I came up, he said, Sister Kalia Washington, solar biologist. And I said, oh, wow, I love black men. I love the way they just dress up stuff.
Yeah, we know how to do it.
I said, brother, I'm just an astrologer. He said, oh, no, sister. He said, I've heard you. And I've seen what you do for my people and how much you care and how much they've benefited. He said a solar biologist is somebody that looks at astrology not just in terms of the cycle, but how it affects humankind, the animal kingdom, and the plant kingdom. And I said, okay, thank you. But then I said to myself, you know what? This goes back to the principles of Nguzo Saba, the right to name ourselves and define ourselves.
Right, self-determination.
And if he thinks enough of me to acknowledge me as a solar biologist, and I'm working hard as I possibly can to be as good as I can, why can't you claim it? So from then on, I was a solar biologist.
Wow, Abiola too. Isn't that interesting? That's very, very interesting. I have another, by the way, as you see, you're listening to Sister Kalia Washington, who is a solar biologist par excellence, probably one of the best on the planet. And if you like this, please like, share, subscribe. I'm told every now and then I should say that. So if you like this conversation, Kalia, please share the like. If you want to share it, also please share, because her information is absolutely awesome. And subscribe if you want to too. All that's up to you. It's all your choice. Thank you. There's the one from Deborah. She's born December the 20th, 1956. Her question was about reuniting with family.
Okay, I wish I could talk to her so that we could talk about what capacity.
Well, we got your information on the screen, so hopefully they can call you and schedule something. And by the way, there are sessions. There are sessions. This is what she does for a living.
When she says reunited with family, this is another good catch-all because see, each cycle represents something. Okay, and a lot of us prior to the pandemic had become estranged from our families, even living in the same household, because what happens is, you know, we're no longer in an era where there's only one TV in the house. There's a TV in every room. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a computer. Everybody is listening to different music, you know, and everyone felt so constrained when the pandemic first hit, because people felt pushed up on each other. One of the things that people are doing in an effort to get grounded and rooted is they are actually talking with each other, eating with each other, doing virtual Zooms, doing virtual cookouts, doing things in smaller numbers. So without her time of birth, city, and, I couldn't do an in-depth.
Sure.
But for her and everyone, I need you to look at this cycle. This is a wonderful cycle to reconnect with your family.
Now, is this for all of us? Is this
all of us?
All of us.
All of us.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything is going to be cool, kumbaya with the crazy ones. But we gotta work with them.
That makes sense.
We gotta work around them. We still need to call them.
I know what you mean on that one.
On
I know what you mean. Definitely.
You understand what I'm saying? Because
no question.
We have become so self-absorbed that if a particular family member had an issue, we kind of left them out there and said, well, I just can't deal with them. Well, we're in a pandemic right now. You know what I mean? Call them. If you can't spend physical time with them, look around your life and see what way you can aid or assist. Do something for their children. Remember their birthdays. This is a cycle where we're only going to heal by loving on each other. This is not going to be an external fix. When we get through this pandemic, if nothing more, we should be closer and more humane to one another.
That sounds so incredibly simple. It really, really does. Okay. I don't know why people don't seem to understand that, and and it doesn't cost anything to exercise, some common sense and respect for people. Like, good morning, no, thank you, you're welcome. But sometimes you say that now, and it's almost as if you slap their mother. I don't get it. It's almost like people want to be mean.
We have to do it, Lloyd, because look at the mania that's been released in the air over the last 5 years, from the White House on down to the insurrection. The only way to rebalance that energy is how we treat each other one-on-one. Minimize your yelling, minimize your screaming, minimize your overreacting. Show love, show kindness, show compassion. The wonderful thing is at the beginning of the pandemic, Ayanna Van Zandt was doing this 45, she thought she was only going to do it for 45 days, just trying to give out some love and some light and some inspiration, some encouragement. And one thing that she said to me stuck with me. She said, how you going to do your time? The pandemic doesn't matter. The global crisis doesn't matter. She didn't say that. But the thing is, as we go through this major arc of change, as we go through this paradigm shift, the question isn't, is the world coming to an end? Am I going to come out on top? How are you going to do your time? It's a quality of life issue. If you're in a relationship, treat each other as well as possible. Sometimes being confined like this makes you realize that I love them, but this is not the right one. Then you got to do something about that. But anything that's in your life right now that is not working for you and is not serving for you, it has come up for review. And this is not a cycle where you can drag it out 5 more years. You've got to cut your losses. You've got to leap and not be afraid. You've got to give thanks that you still have the stamina and the strength, no matter how old you are and how long you've been in it, that you've done it. And you've got to step out on faith that there is life on the other side. We would never have imagined 2 years ago that we could go through something like this, but we had to. We're doing it, and we are. So this is that cycle where you clean up your life. This is that cycle where you purge. This is that cycle where you give things away. This is a ending cycle. But how you going to do your time in terms of how do you want your life to be on the other side of it? So, like I said, you can't hold on to a bad relationship or a bad situation and do the pandemic and the volcanoes and the hurricanes at the same time. It's got to be an internal job as well.
Well, that's why they say two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. So you're absolutely right. I do have another person that called in, Patricia Patton. She's born November the 24th and 64, and she's born at 8:43 p.m. Okay, so that means she's somewhere around in the seventh house, I do believe. Sixth house, she'd be somewhere around in the seventh house, her sun position.
Patricia, you don't know everything, but your intuition and your gut never lies. And sometimes you try to talk and reason or look for the proof of external logic, but you're in a cycle now and have been for a while with whatever your gut and inner voice is telling you is really your truth. And you need to quietly embrace that without drama and ultimatums to others, and do what your spirit is telling you is best for you. And you've started to do it a little bit, but nowhere near your full capacity. And once you fully embrace that, a lot of things are going to get better for you, and the ride is going to be a whole lot smoother and a whole lot lighter.
Well, I would agree, because she's born on the 24th, and the year to come, 2022, is a 6. So I would say she's definitely going to be one of the beneficiaries. She just texted and said, "You are so correct." Let me show you so you can see it here. The people, this is what they just said. She says, "You are so correct." So thank you, Pat. There's another person. Her name is Vivica, and she's born now. She's a Scorpio. She's born November the 13th, 1961, in Jamaica, West Indies, at 12:35 p.m. So that means 12. That means she'd be somewhere in the 10th or the 9th house, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? Do you know? Or how do you feel that?
She's got some stuff to let go of. I don't know whether it's a relationship or whatever, but she's kind of, you know how we kind of get miscast. You see an actor that you know is very talented, but they're miscast in a role.
Yeah.
You know, she's been feeling the frustration that her life or her role in life is not what she authentically wants. And I don't know whether or not she's been martyring in terms of trying to keep everybody around her happy or keep people from being judgmental of her. But the pressure is on her, and it's not on her because she's doing something bad, but because she's being called to be authentically herself and to start peeling off them layers without explanation, without excuses, you know, so that she can shine. She can shine because she came here to do some things, and right now she's kind of stuck in a role that's not necessarily letting her shine the way she wants.
Okay, interesting. Put it that way. Okay. So let's see who else we got here. We have another one, born October the 15th, 1959, a Libra.
Okay. All right. If she's born October 15th, 1959.
No, this is a person, Tom, a male.
Okay.
October 15th, 1959.
Okay. Well, I think his Jupiter's in Sagittarius, you know, so he's been feeling really blocked, you know, because that's usually somebody that either likes to travel or their job sends them places, or he worked in a capacity where he interfaced with people from all walks of life, you know. So to be stuck in like an everyday life humdrum kind of thing has been kind of stifling for him. I hope he's taking care of himself, especially with regards to his weight and his diet. This is where he gets to be international now by trying new foods, eating lighter, moving more. You know, I see some kind of physical constriction, but it can be changed if he either changes his diet or is in a relationship with someone who has a good diet. You know, people, I'm trying to find a nice way to say this. I know guys that are vegans, okay? And they're vegans, but they say, but I love a woman with meat on her bones, you know?
I understand.
And they will hook up with women that are 300 and 400 pounds. And I have nothing against my sisters who are ample-bodied. And then complain about their diet. Yet, I mean, you know what I mean? It's got to be a balance here for him.
Well, human nature is something else. I can tell you that. That's
you understand what I'm saying?
Listen, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Where what's going on the inside is not matching what's happening on the outside, and he's wondering if that outside thing is going to change, but it really has more to do with his choices, and he has to be realistic about, well, if I choose this, then I'm probably going to have that outcome.
Good.
Because, you know, by him being a Libra, you know, they're very idealistic and they're very sweet, and they figure if I treat you good, you treat me good, and that's not always the way it works.
Well, I have one last one. They are born on March the 16th, 1952 at 7 a.m., which means the sun should have been in the 12th house at the time of their birth in East Meadow, Long Island, New York City.
Okay. All right. Well, if he's a 12th house baby, that means that he can be very social when he's out and about, but he loves his privacy. He tends to live like on dead-end streets and cul-de-sacs. You know what I mean? He's like, it's got to be a balance. 12th house represents things hidden. He does his best work behind the scenes. He can go out and socialize, but in order to get things done, he has to isolate and really focus. You know, financially, next year will be a much better year, but he's another one that has to watch for any form of enticement towards overindulgence. Now, I know that COVID being forced in the house has made a lot of people just, climb in the refrigerator and hope that it was over. You know,
yeah,
we cannot eat our way through this one. You know, and the physical consequences of it. So he needs to be pushed a little bit to be more active, to be more physical. It doesn't have to be a traumatic, because it looks like he's extreme. You know how sometimes you could be a person that's either extremely good, and then it's like, then that, and then they're extremely bad. He needs to work on being more balanced and integrated. He needs to walk a little bit every day. He needs to do something every day where he is using his physical self.
Very good. Very good. Listen, I want to just tell you that the gentleman you read, Tom, who was born October the 15th, his response says, yes, you are right on bullseye. And this is interesting because you don't even have your computer turned on with your software, and already just from your astrological experience and other experience that we all get as you get older in life, if you're paying halfway attention, that you are very good. And so, by the way, now what I want to do is make sure that everybody, let me take this off a second. Very good. This is now, Khalea, before we get ready to sign off, young lady, I want to thank you. You see, our guest has been Kalia Washington. There is her name. That's the proper spelling of her name. She is a solar biologist, and her contact information is Kalia Collection at Gmail. Not a S, but KHALEASKOLLECTION at Gmail. And they got a number. And can people call you for consultation, things like that?
Yes, they can call me and set up an appointment. I do readings over the phone. I focus on you and what's going on in your life. It's much more in depth and thorough than it is now. And I also do something called synastry, where I'll take your birthday and put it with a child or a loved one or a business associate, so we can look at the strengths and weaknesses of that relationship and how best to deal with it. You know, I do appreciate the fact that we did get on, and hopefully,
no, you'll be back. You'll be back. Except I want people to see you in your. But this was the next best thing, and believe me, I'm so glad I had a beautiful shot of you. All you women are very beautiful. Anyway, she's born on January the 20th. She is an Aquarius in the very first stages, where I'm an Aquarius in the very last stages. But anyway, her number is 973-951-5846. Her number again is 973-951-5846. That's for somebody that just stepped away and can't see it. And she's also on the Instagram on the Kalia Collection. That's KHALEASKOLLECTION Collection, no S. She's also on the Facebook on the Kalia Washington. And for those of you who'd like to make a PayPal donation, it is Kalia Collection at gmail.com. And I will spell it one last time. That is KHALEASKOLLECTION at gmail.com. Kalia Collection. Kalia, I want to thank you very, very much. This has been very nice, and definitely going to have you back on again.
And I just want to remind everyone that Mercury retrograde isn't bad. It's just not a good time to buy, swap, sell, or trade, but it is an excellent time to do your behind-the-scenes work and possibly find something you thought was lost.
Interesting. Okay, and I like that. All right. So for those about investments and whatnot, that means just take it easy. All right. So Khalea, thank you so much. This was great. And so everybody, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. Please, if you've enjoyed this as much as I have, having Khalea on, my guest, please share. Please like or subscribe. Please tell all your friends, or whatever the case is. We'll be having more guests. And in fact, this Wednesday's guest, and really, I've got so many people that would like to be on. Maybe we're just going to kind of like get we're going to have probably Monday and Friday for about a month or month and a half or so. But everybody, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. This has been Live with Lloyd, where the joy of learning. The joy of learning is the joy where the joy of numerology, is about learning and enlightenment. Okay, that's the beauty of doing live. You can't edit. This is the edit live. Okay, so everybody, really, really do take care of yourselves. God bless all of you. For those of you who can't get through, I will respond to your questions. And by the way, I will say this. My next guest Wednesday will be Hank Rising Sun. A lot of people ask me about this neck piece. Well, you're going to meet the guy who does this neck piece. And by the way, these magnetic bracelets, he does these too. The guy's a genius. Well, most people I know are kind of interesting. I mean, all of us are geniuses, is what we do or don't do without genius. Anyway, everybody, have a very nice day. Peace out. You'll all take care, and see you later.